today, and we have with us our brother Roland Martin, as he and the bus are Morris Brown College, historically black Morris Brown College. Hey, brother, what's going on? What took you and John Ossoff to Morris Brown College today, Roland?
Here in Atlanta today, John Ossoff had a couple of events. One, he voted early today, and so we were live streaming that event. And then they had the conversation out here with the Morris Brown president, other officials, alumni, and others. Him showing his support for their efforts to get reaccredited, and so that's what we were here for. So we actually live streamed that as well. Did an interview out here with the sheriff of DeKalb County, as well as the president of Morris Brown University. And so this is a part of the daily coverage that we've been doing. We've been on the ground here for the last 3 weeks, doing a number of different events, not just here in Metro Atlanta. We were in Columbus yesterday with Vice President Hale. Over the weekend, that's Friday in Savannah. We also live streamed an event for Clay County. We've been all over, man. We've been in Columbus, Savannah, Warner Robins. We've also been in Albany, and so we've been all over the state with lots of others to go. Probably I'm going to be streaming in Augusta tomorrow.
So, Morris Brown, there's an issue with their accreditation. Is that my understanding?
Well, what they've done is, first of all, that's one of the reasons why the university has, I don't want to use the word crumbled, but the reason they have lost some of their students. I remember they went through all of the financial issues, irregularities, and also, and so they lost their accreditation. When you lose your accreditation, your students, you cannot get financial aid. When we know that most universities, especially HBCUs, they survive on the funding of students who get federal aid. And so Morris Brown has been clawing its way back. They never closed the university. They kept the university open. The president, the interview I just had with the president, they used to have a 42-acre campus. They're now down to, they sold 36 of those acres to solve their bankruptcy issues. 3 buildings left on this particular campus. And so they have applied through another agency for accreditation. They've already accepted the application. They'll be visiting this campus in April, and they go through the process. So they really hope that in the next 2 or 3 years, they'll be back as a fully accredited university, which then will allow students to actually qualify for financial aid. You cannot qualify for financial aid by attending an unaccredited institution. And asking the president, look, I mean, you got Clark Atlanta, you got Morehouse, you got Spelman, it's all a part of the schools here. Why not merge? And he said, bottom line is Morris Brown is the only college in the state that was actually founded by freed enslaved people of African descent for people of enslaved African descent. And he said, and so they want to keep this institution going. They've been going since 1881 and don't want to see its doors closed.
Yeah, great. So John Ossoff being there today, what's the significance of that? How might he be able to help Morris Brown if he's elected to the Senate?
Well, you see what just happened in the bill that was passed by Congress, in this COVID relief bill. The federal government has forgiven more than $1 billion that for HBCUs. It was $1.3 billion which was construction. Congressman Bobby Scott played a critical role in that. So the federal government plays a role when it comes to funding, not just for public HBCUs, but private HBCUs. And so he spoke in terms of what he will do if he's elected to the United States Senate to stand in support of Morris Brown. Of course, they're still affiliated with the AME Church, but this is one of the issues that a lot of people assume the federal government only supports public institutions, and in fact, there are federal funds that go to private institutions. And not just for buildings and things along those lines, but also we talk about research and development. And that's one of the things that Congressman Alma Adams, North Carolina, has been focused on in terms of her term as the head of the HBCU caucus, really, again, speaking to those issues.
Lastly, Roland, I know you got to go. You've been down there for a while. You're going to be down there a while longer. What's the atmosphere like? What's the buzz like in terms of early voting, in terms of these runoffs? Are things looking good?
Well, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to be on the ground with Roland Martin Unfiltered, because we wanted to be able to hear directly from the people. Last week, this is the second week of early voting. The last week, early voting took place. The first week, 1.3 million people voted last week. I was talking to a couple of folks yesterday. Black turnout They said it was around first of all 30%. In terms of black people made up 30% of the people who were voting in November 3rd. In the runoff, it's up to 33%, and so they're trying to drive that even more so. A lot of attention, obviously, is focused here in Metro Atlanta, but really, you have lots of energy being focused on rural parts of Georgia. Metro Atlanta makes up 60% of the population of the state of Georgia, but when you look at how Republicans have always won, they've always won by running up huge margins in rural areas. One of the things that Stacey Abrams did when she ran for governor, she hit all 159 counties in Georgia. And so you have Raphael Warnock, who was from Savannah. He had an event on Saturday with Common in Savannah, his hometown. We were there in Savannah on Friday with Black Voters Matter. And Black Voters Matter, they really spent significant time on the ground in those places. They've really been avoiding Metro Atlanta. They said, look, everybody else got Metro Atlanta. Their focus has really been on going to places like Warner Robins, as I said, Columbus, Albany, Savannah, many of those places. And one of the things that they want to do is to bring more influencers there, because the reality is these are not places where people are going a lot. What you also have happening is this here. It was a great story the other day Politico had, how Republicans are winning the ad war, but you have your third-party Democratic and progressive groups who are putting money on the ground. You look at Midas Touch. They're raising money for canvassers, paying people $15 or more an hour, because what folks are saying is, look, if you live in those places, you're not sitting here watching television all day, listening to the radio. You can pour all, and campaigns love just pouring money into advertising, but runoffs are about turnout. Republicans typically do better in runoffs than Democrats. So they're with these third-party progressive groups and groups like Black Voters Matter, who are nonpartisan. Their deal is going door to door. Same thing that the Black Church PAC is doing. That is taking the bus to different places so people see it, having these caravans to the polls, encouraging people, to giving them rides to the polls. That's what's going to do it. And so if Democrats, if Ossoff and Warnock are able to shrink the margins in rural America, then you don't have Kelly Loeffler, David Perdue, where it's 80-20, 75-25, 70-30. You shrink that to 60-40, 55-45. Now all of a sudden, you have a path to victory. And so it's getting African Americans out in those places. When I was in Albany, one of the things that they said is that was 58% Black turnout for November 3rd. Imagine if you concentrate in Albany and you're able to get that from 58 in November 3rd to 70 in the runoff. Now all of a sudden, that's the difference. And again, it comes down to margin of victory. And so Joe Biden wins Georgia less than 12,000 votes. Well, guess what? That means that if Joe Biden doesn't run up margins where you have high Black population, he doesn't win Georgia. If you take Metro Atlanta, everybody keeps talking about the suburbs of Metro Atlanta and how he did there. But the bottom line is this here. If you're able, Athens, I was in Athens on Saturday. If you're able to increase your Black turnout in Athens, Columbus, Savannah, Albany, Warner Robins, let's just say if you pick up an additional 2,000 votes, that's 10,000 votes in 5 cities. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden wins with less than 12,000. And so the election could literally come down to those type of numbers.
Yeah. Roland, I know you got to go. Breaking news, though. California Governor Gavin Newsom selected Alex Padilla to succeed, the Secretary of State to succeed Kamala Harris and finish out the 2 years of her term. Your reaction?
Here's what we are seeing that is going to be a reality. That we are 23 years away from America becoming a nation majority of people of color. And the reality is Dianne Feinstein should have retired. See, here's the piece. Latinos, significant voting bloc in California. Mm-hmm. We've never had a Latino United States Senator. And so he Kamala Harris becomes the first Black United States Senator in California. He then becomes Vice President-elect. So I certainly understand the choice by Gavin Newsom. He is in a position to replace several different people. But this is one of those things where It's time for some folks to go. Dianne Feinstein, you're 87 years old, okay? You served there. It's time to move on, okay? If a Dianne Feinstein moves on, a Karen Bass can become a United States Senator or can run for the position, or a Barbara Lee or somebody else who's up and coming. And so this is part of the piece here. And so it's no surprise that you have that decision. Remember, you also have the Secretary of State in California who goes into the Biden administration. Newsom gets to appoint that position as well. It is unfortunate that you now, as a result of this appointment, you do not have a black woman in the United States Senate, which means, though, is that we've got to be able in these other states to run and support to elect black women in other states. It shouldn't just be, well, here's this one. No, 2022 is coming. Look, this is the end of 2021. Excuse me, end of 2020. You've got a number of U.S. Senate seats that are up in 2022. Pennsylvania is one of those. You've got Bill Burr, who's not Bill Burr, who's not running in North Carolina. And so the question is, all right, what about that particular position? And so this is where we as African Americans should be looking at how do we look for African American women, run for other Senate positions, and support them in those endeavors. Remember, this election cycle, you had Jamie Harrison, who was running in South Carolina. You had a brother who was running in Kentucky, Booker. You had a brother who was running in Louisiana. You had, and I'm leaving out somebody, sorry, who was running. Of course, Raphael Warnock, here in Georgia. Yeah, Royce West.
Mike Espy in Mississippi.
Royce West was running in Texas. Mike Espy, who's running in Mississippi. No sisters. You had a sister who was running for the nomination in North Carolina. She lost out to Cal Cunningham, who lost, of course, to Tom Tillis. And so where we are now is, again, Black Church PAC, Collective PAC, Higher Heights, all these different groups. Now our whole deal is, okay, how then are we positioning? Who are the sisters who are thinking about running in 2022? How do we get behind them now? And so Black media raise their profile, provide for them the attention, begin to raise the money so they can be competitive in running for a statewide position. That to me is where I expected Newsom to do this. That to me is where our energy should be on making that happen in other states.
Amen. Amen. Roland Martin Unfiltered. He is live, set up down in Georgia, and he's going to be there for days to come. So be sure to follow him and his YouTube show, and it's all across social media. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Thank you, brother, for stepping on the bus with us for a few minutes.
Thanks a lot.
And appreciate your insight. Folks, the Black Church PAC bus is down in Georgia and is going to be there through the runoffs. And we've been just dropping in every now and then to bring you some live coverage and live reports. And we're happy to have Brother Roland with us. We'll be checking back in with all of you probably a little bit later on this afternoon. But as we've said, we all know someone in Georgia. Call those someone's friends, relatives, loved ones, exes, and remind them to get out and early vote. This is Make It Plain, virtually on the Black Church PAC bus. It has been made plain.